Right now, as you are watching this, something is happening in Mali that most of the world has no idea about. Not on your newsfeed, not trending on Twitter, barely a headline. Now picture this, September 2025, the capital of Mali, Bamako, home to 4 million people, is slowly suffocating. No fuel, schools closing, hospitals on backup generators about to die. People sleeping overnight in gas station queues that stretch for miles. Fuel prices shoot up 500% from $25 to $135 per liter. And I'm not exaggerating. Normally, fuel in this region costs about $1.30 per liter. Now we're talking about $130 per liter for fuel. An armed group linked to al-Qaeda is choking the city to death. They are not storming gates with tanks, they are doing something much more brutal, blocking every road that brings fuel into this landlocked country, burning trucks, kidnapping drivers, turning Mali's economy into ash. Now the US Embassy orders evacuation of its non-essential staff. The UK says leave now. Western analysts write Mali's obituary, talking about the capital falling, about Afghanistan 2.0. But here is what nobody saw coming. Mali didn't break. Now, to understand what Mali just pulled off, you need to know how desperate things really were. Mali is completely landlocked. Every drop of fuel comes through neighboring countries, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mauritania. If someone blocks the road, you are done. Now, early September, JNIM, an al-Qaeda affiliate, announced a total ban on fuel imports. Their spokesperson said no tanker will cross into Mali from any neighboring country. Why? The Malian government had cut fuel supplies to rural areas months earlier, trying to starve militants in their hideouts. Classic counter-insurgency. And JNIM's response? 2 can play the game. Let's choke the whole country. And it worked. Within weeks, buses stopped running, markets shut, businesses died because generators ran dry. In Mopti, over a month without electricity. Now, a motorcycle taxi driver said, I pushed my motorcycle 9 kilometers without fuel. Our business is dying. Now, throughout the country, schools shut down. Teachers couldn't even get to work. This wasn't inconvenience. It was existential. Now, here is where most people get it wrong. They think JNIM is just another terror group trying to cause chaos. But their strategy? Sophisticated political warfare. Now, 6 security analysts told Reuters the same thing. JNIM's goal isn't to take Bamako by force. They want to trigger a coup, the 3rd since 2020. Think chess. You don't always go for checkmate directly. You apply pressure until your opponent makes a fatal mistake, until their own people turn against them. Now, Control Risk, which is an unrivaled risk specialist agency, put out a note saying the risk of collapse of the regime, whether through a coup or political crisis, will be very high over the coming weeks. If the government falls, JNIM gets what they want: a seat at the negotiating table, political legitimacy, maybe a role in whatever comes next, like the Taliban. Beverly Ocheng at Control Risk explained, the blockade is a tool to pressure residents to distance themselves from the military authorities. So this is actually to make people become so miserable and blame the government instead of the militants. Brutal, calculated, almost working. But here is what the analysts missed. October 27, 2025 While Western embassies tell citizens to flee, while schools are closed, while people sleep in gas station lines, Mali's military leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, is on phone with Moscow. 2 days later, Russia will supply Mali with 160,000 to 200,000 metric tons of petroleum. Most headlines treated this like just another trade deal. But watch what actually happened. Russian fuel tankers protected by Russian military instructors, not through blocked southern routes, through alternative routes, under armed escort with security that makes militants think twice. Over 300 tankers made it to Bamako over military protection. Not particularly enough to solve everything, but enough to keep the capital breathing, to keep generators running, to show people their government hadn't quit. The Malian army, they pushed back hard. They carried airstrikes on JNIM positions, increased military escorts, and also captured one of JNIM's top-ranking official. And as these operations were going on, dozens of tanks started going through. Now, Prime Minister Abdoulaye Maïga called the fuel making it through human blood, recognizing soldiers and drivers being unalive on those roads. Drivers counted 52 burnt-out tankers on a single road. One driver said, "You never know if you will come back alive." But despite all this, they kept on going. Necessity, patriotism, refusal to let their country be strangled. Now, let's be honest, the blockade is still in effect. Schools have reopened, but fuel is still scarce. Prices are still astronomical. JNIM is still attacking convoys. The US, the UK, Italy, Germany, they are still telling their citizens to leave. An analyst warned JNIM controls more territory than ever. So why am I calling this a win? Because most analysts measure success by Western metrics. Total defeat of the enemy, complete restoration, democratic elections. There is a West African proverb, however long the night, the dawn will break. What Mali proved is they refused to accept the night as permanent. When collapse was expected, when JNIM thought economic warfare would force surrender, Mali found another way. They partnered with Russia. Controversial? Yes. Pragmatic? Also yes. They fought when everyone said they would fold. They kept the capital standing when analysts wrote about Afghanistan 2.0. This isn't total victory, but it's survival, it's resilience. It's proof that the playbook, isolate an African country, apply pressure, wait for collapse, doesn't work anymore. And that terrifies some people, because if one African country can refuse to play by the rules, find alternative partners, survive what should have been a death blow, what does that mean for the next country? Now, let's zoom out. Mali's fuel crisis isn't really just about Mali. Across the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, military governments kicked out French forces, partnered with Russia, rejected the Western playbook. They formed the alliance of Sahel states, all facing the same pressures, same militants, same economic warfare. If Mali collapses, everything collapses. The confederation breaks. JNIM gets emboldened. Contagion spreads to Burkina Faso, Niger, and maybe Nigeria, Ivory Coast. But if Mali holds, if they prove this strategy can be beaten, that changes calculations across the region. JNIM just collected $50 million ransom for Emirati hostages. They are flush with cash, expanding into Benin and Nigeria. This isn't over, but neither is Mali's fight back. So here's what I'm watching. Can Mali maintain fuel supplies for the next 6 months? Can the army break JNIM's blockade without massive casualties? Will other African nations start looking east for partnership instead of north? Can JNIM sustain this operation? Because economic warfare is resource intensive. Now everyone is focused on whether Mali's government survive. That's exactly the wrong question. The real question is what happens when the old playbook, economic pressure, isolation, waiting for collapse stops working. Now here is my prediction. Remember this in 6 months. Mali won't defeat JNIM completely. This isn't that kind of war. No surrender ceremony, no victory parade. But they won't collapse either. They will adapt. They will survive without Western approval, and that survival, that refusal to quit, will inspire other countries to try the same. We are not witnessing Mali's last stand. We are watching the first chapter of a new kind of African independence, where countries choose their partners, where survival is victory enough, where the dawn breaks on their terms. So here is my challenge. 6 months from now, May 2026, come back to this video. Check if Mali's government is still standing. Check if the fuel crisis is resolved. Check if JNIM collapsed or expanded. Check if more African countries partnered with Russia or China. Then tell me if I was right. Drop your predictions in the comments right now. What happens next in Mali? Does the government survive 2026? Does JNIM's strategy backfire? I want to know what you think, because unlike the analysts who got this wrong, you have been paying attention. You have just seen what Mali survived. The night might be long, but Mali just proved something crucial. Dawn is coming and nobody can stop it. See you in my next video. I'm Luis.